Hey everyone, you're listening to the Simple Electronics Podcast. I'm your host, Dan, from the Simple Electronics YouTube channel. And with me today is absolutely nobody special. It's just you and me, the listener, and myself. And actually, this is, again, my fault. I've been super busy. I actually have two guests lined up who said they want to do the podcast. I'm not going to call them out for obvious reasons in case stuff happens. But they are not here today because I didn't arrange for anything. But trust me, these two are big gets. They are great guests that I was hoping to have on, and they have agreed to be on. So please be patient. It is coming. I have a couple of updates for you. Definitely, I have some channel update stuff, which I will go into first, and then we'll chat a bit about what I have been up to. And then towards the end, I have some personal life updates. So if you're not interested in that, you can just skip at that point. So yeah, first, let's talk about updates to the channel. What can I say? I have been hooked up beyond any hookup that I could ever have expected. Sometime a couple weeks ago, I was reached out to by Unity, UNIT. Some of you who have been around the channel for a long time know that I love the Unity UT210E. That is the little clamp AC-DC meter. I bought that thing with my own money, and it was one of my first really good performing videos on the channel. Fun fact, I still use that thing daily in my professional life. I love that thing. I also have a Unity UTG962E. That's the little function generator that works on 5 volts. And that thing was sent to me by Banggood. And again, that thing is really nice. It does the job really well. The only little caveat I had on it was the UI wasn't super great, but it does work and it does do what's advertised on the tin. So Unity reached out. And I forget what the intro is. Actually, I have the email up here. Oh, yeah. So they reached out because they saw the review for the UTG962E. And they asked if I would like to take a look at some more of their equipment. And I was like, yes. In fact, yes, I would. And so they decided, at the very first, we were sort of talking about a oscilloscope, a 4-channel oscilloscope. And then they came back and said, we want to send you 7 items. And one of those items, you'll just have to do a review and send back. But the rest is yours to keep. And I said, holy crap. So let me explain to you what these items are. If you want to see what they are, I already filmed an unboxing video. It's not edited and it's not put up yet. But I did unbox it live on my live streaming channel. So if you like to be like the very first person to see things, as they go on, I film a lot of the main channel videos on my live stream channel. I will put a link in the description. Just subscribe there and hit the notification on that specific channel because I kind of go live erratically. But anyways, I did unbox all this stuff live on that channel, and it was a whole bunch of fun. So let me explain to you first what they sent, and then there's a little bit of implication. So first thing they sent is another UTG962E. That's a 60 megahertz 2-channel waveform generator. I told them I didn't need this one because I had one already, and they accidentally sent it to me anyways. So they said I could keep it or do whatever. They suggested I do a giveaway, but the thing is, giveaways are really complicated, especially since I'm in Canada, so a lot of the guidelines for giveaways are related to giveaways in the States. And anyways, I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet, but I do have it. So I love this thing, and now I have 2. Next thing they sent is a UTG 1042X. Now, this is a function gen as well, but let me explain to you. It's a 40 megahertz 2-channel. However, it is a benchtop unit. And as far as I can tell, now I haven't gone through all of the specs and stuff. As far as I can tell, this one has a larger voltage range. So I think the 5 volt one is limited to 5 volt peak to peak. I think this one you could go 10 volts peak to peak. And although the megahertz are lower, it's a 40. I believe this thing is just overall better. It has more features on it. This is something I'll have to dive into when I do the first look video, which is, by the way, for all of these items, I'm planning to do first look videos in short order because I need to put them away into my setup so I can start using them to make better videos. And so, yeah, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, so this is the UTG 1042X, which is very nice because it's a benchtop model. Also, they sent me a 4-channel oscilloscope, the UPO 1204, 200 megahertz 4-channel DSO. And it's one of those phosphor scopes. Like they do the, when the waveform is similar, it's the same color. And then when it's, dissimilar, you see it like fades in and out. It's really cool. They call it ultra phosphor too. It's a really cool oscilloscope. The UI is nice and snappy. The screen is nice and big. The one downside I would say to that specific oscilloscope is if you're filming video, the screen is a slight bit on the dim side. I can see it just fine. It doesn't appear super well on camera, but it has other features. And I haven't got the chance to really dig deep into the owner's manual yet because I'm starting with another item. So there might be some way to capture the waveform. We'll have to see from there. But yeah, it's really cool. 2 gig samples per second, 4-channel, 500,000 waveforms per second, 7-inch display. Super nice unit. Really compact and light too. It's very thin, so it doesn't take up a lot of space. Next, and this is another super cool one. They sent the UT8805E. It's a 5.5 digit benchtop multimeter. So this is a benchtop multimeter with an attitude. I think it's 200,000 count meter. So it's the most counts that I have in any multimeter in my shop right now. It boasts a 0.015% accuracy. It's got like dual functions. It also does 2-wire and 4-wire resistance checking. So in case you don't know, how a multimeter checks resistance is they pump a known voltage down the wires, and the current created by that voltage reads you the resistance. Or is it that they throw a known current and the voltage? Anyways, regardless, they use Ohm's law. You can't measure resistance directly. A multimeter can only read voltage and does conversion. So this one has a 4-wire mode where it sends the current down 2 wires and reads on the other 2 wires. So you get to read directly at the source. Super cool. It's got like logging functions and it's got I/O in the back. It's got a network connection, RS-232. I mean, I don't know what to say. The other equipment I was talking about is very nice. It's really nice. But this multimeter and the next item I'll talk about made me feel like I've leveled up. Like, this stuff is crazy. And I don't know if that's meant to be like that, but the other items I was talking about, they work really well, but you could just tell the robustness of this multimeter is like next level. Like, this thing is a pro tool. I was joking on my live stream that I could definitely club someone to death with this thing because it is crazy. It is chunky, it's heavy, and it's laser fast. I can't wait to show you guys that. But again, I played with it on the live stream. Next thing is the other thing that made me feel like I've leveled up. It's a UDP 3305S. It is a 4-channel programmable linear DC power supply. A 4-channel, like a professional power supply. I cannot explain to you how much this thing feels like gold. It weighs an absolute ton. It is so heavy because it is linear. So it has a giant toroidal transformer, I assume, on the inside. So it can do 30 volts up to 5 amps, up to 30 volts up to 5 amps on the first 2 channels. Channel 3 is up to 6 volts up to 3 amps. And then channel 4 is USB. Now, I'm not sure if that USB you can log stuff like that happens on the USB rails. But I will find that out. This is the manual I'm reading through now. And it's a 1 millivolt and 1 milliamp resolution that I can set. It is crazy. The accuracy is 0.03 in the percent in the millivolt range. It's 0.03 plus 10 millivolts and 0.2% plus 5 milliamps in the current range. I can't even explain. Like, this thing is crazy. It is absolutely nuts. And I can't wait to put it, in my permanent setup so I can use it, to really make good videos with. Next thing was a request from me. I said I have a lot of the stuff I need because I didn't know that the 5.5 digit multimeter and the power supply were on the table, because they only initially talked about some future gear coming out and the oscilloscope. So I said, something I've had in my cart a couple times and wanted to pull the trigger on AliExpress was a thermal imager, because I have a thermal imager here. But it's not great. It's like, I think it's like 16 by 16 resolution, so you can't see anything really. But I think it'd be really interesting to see which components are heating up on modules and all sorts of things like that. So they sent me one. But what they sent was the UTI 720E. So that is a fancy AF thermal imager. This thing is 256 by 192 resolution. Up to 1,022 degrees Fahrenheit. Like, it is crazy. Has a giant screen. The thing is big. Again, another thing you can club someone to death with if you really wanted to. It has a lithium battery, like a power tool battery, in the handle. And the coolest thing is, if you unplug the battery, you can plug it into USB-C to charge it, which is like amazing. Why don't all power tool manufacturers do that? And on top of that, it came in like a Pelican style case with latches and everything. So these tools, I can't even explain to you what it represents to me. It's more than the monetary value, because it's more like a representation of trust. And I feel like, my channel is leveling up. Maybe me, myself, am able to level up. It's something I never expected. I mean, companies send me stuff, piecemeal. Keysight sent me a scope, and, I get stuff from Banggood from time to time. I've got sponsorships, monetary sponsorships from PCBWay. But to just get a bulk, like, here you go, we want to hook you up. Like, literally, I'm pretty sure he said, my rep, I don't know if they want to be named, so I don't typically name them, but you know who you are if you're listening. But my rep said, we're happy to hook you up. And it's incredible. So I don't have to do anything in exchange. They said an unboxing video would be nice, as well as individual videos. So, I was planning on doing that anyway. It's good content. And just a chance for me to gush over this awesome equipment, and maybe show you guys if you're doing something. Now, this kind of equipment, like the oscilloscope, is well priced. That if you're looking for a 4-channel oscilloscope, it's actually very competitive, very compelling. Here, I think I have it in US dollars here. So it's $527 on the website right now for the oscilloscope. So that's a compelling buy. That one, like, pretty much any electronics enthusiast needs a oscilloscope. But if you wanted a 4-channel one specifically, they are quite pricey. And this one actually is fairly reasonably priced. However, the thing like the benchtop multimeter and the bench power supply, those are things that you don't need when you're starting out. But when you know you need them, that's the time. If you're doing like design for manufacture, if you want to work for a startup, all these kinds of things, though, you need pro level tools. And what I love about Unity, and this is not even an ad, they didn't ask me to say any of this. This is just my opinion. That's been like that for a while. I've had this opinion since I bought the UT210E. If you're looking to get some leveled up tools, Unity is a perfect price to performance comparison, especially once I give it a test and we can confirm that everything is up to snuff, which, I mean, it's Unity. It's not the type of company you buy stuff from and then you have to worry about if the chassis is grounded, right? One of my live stream viewers said that, and this is exactly true. These things truly feel like professional quality gear. And so I'm really excited to have them part of my shop. And I hope that when I do make the video on this stuff, you're going to come take a look and hopefully see something you like too. Maybe something to aspire to. These tools are not cheap, but if you're looking for a 5.5 digit benchtop multimeter, those aren't cheap either. Like, there's nowhere you can get a inexpensive one of this quality. So I think the Unity, we might do some price comparisons in a video, but it feels like the Unity is going to be the price to performance king on this one. In other news, I am quite happy on the next patch of PCBs that are coming in. They should be coming in any day now. If you're listening to this on YouTube, that would be on a Thursday. Very likely that they're in already. During my live stream, I was trying to test a little power supply module. And this power supply module is a buck module. So it takes a higher voltage and cuts it down to a lower voltage. But it can go up to, I believe, 50 volts. So you can feed it, 55 volts or so, and it'll bring it down to 50 volts. But it only has a max current of about 3 amps. And so I have a problem. How the heck do I check the full watt output, the 150 watts or whatever it was? I think it was, 50 volts, 3 amps, something like that. How am I supposed to check the full current if I don't have a load that's able to work at, 50-ish volts? Well, I plugged in my electronic load and it was not happy. So the issue is that this buck converter is a constant current, constant voltage module. And a electronic load is also a constant current, constant voltage thing. And so what happened was they were both fighting each other, and the maximum I could get out of it is like an amp and a quarter or something, because what would happen is the electronic load would demand more load, and then it would hit current limiting on the buck module, which then the load said, okay, give me less load then so I can have more voltage. And then the module went out of current regulation, and then the load went into current regulation and back and forth. So it would just oscillate like that. So now I've designed some PCBs that are super simple. And in fact, once I finished designing them, I designed them on stream, by the way, live. But once I finished designing them, I realized that they're very similar to Julian Eilett's load boards, where he uses a headlight bulb, car headlight bulb, on a PCB, and he puts a bunch of them in parallel, and he gets a nice analog load instead of a digital load. Instead of a programmable load, electronic load, it's full analog. It's just a resistive element. And so I actually made 3 of these versions. So I've got one with 3 12-volt bulbs in series to go up to 48 volts. So I can, reach that 50 volt type limit. Actually, you can go a little bit higher on top of that, because a car alternator will output up to like 14.5 volts. So, let's round that up to 15. You can go up to about 60 volts without exploding these bulbs. They're pretty good up there. So anyways, that becomes a, 50-ish volt, 55 watt resistor that I've designed. And then I've made another version with 2 in series, 2 in parallel. So that'll be a 25-ish volt, 110 watt load. And I designed another board with the 4 in parallel. So they're 12 volt, and that would be 220 watt load. And every time you order a board from PCBWay or whatever, hopefully PCBWay, because they're the sponsor of this episode, then you get 5 or 10. These are a little bit bigger, so 5 are not doesn't fit within the $5 limit, but I think it was $20 for $22 or $24 American for 10 boards, something like that, plus shipping. And so you order 3 of these, that's like $60, but I designed them in a way that they use the little solder terminals. So you solder on the terminals, then you press in these bulbs, and then you can have a whole bunch of these boards and you can transfer the bulb from board to board. So that becomes very inexpensive. On AliExpress, I believe those bulbs were like under $1 each, whereas a 50-watt resistor costs like $4 to $5 to $6 each. So for a lot cheaper than, messing with these high current resistors, which you have to wire up and stuff, this is just a PCB that plugs in these bulbs. You can use the same bulbs. I have 10 bulbs here. So that's 2 PCBs fully populated. And, I can use 2 of the parallel ones, 2 of the series one, 2 of the series parallel ones, etc. What I also added to them are screw terminals. So at one end of the board are screw terminals, the 4 terminal sets that I use for pretty much everything. So you can hook this up with screw terminals. And what's nice is you've got 2 positives and 2 negatives. That means you can chain 2 of these boards in series or in parallel. So in principle, you could test at over 100 volts if you wanted to. Or you can have a bunch of these in parallel, which will bring you up to as much wattage as you can afford in bulbs, basically. Another cool thing is because there are multiple terminals, you can do 4-wire resistance measurement, right? Because you have 2 terminals which can carry current, then you have 2 more terminals which you can use to just use on a electronic load or a power supply or whatever in order to do 4-wire measurement. So that is on one side of the board. On the other side of the board, I put in a footprint for an XT60. So you can use a high current, RC car connector, and then you can use this to test, motor supplies. You can use this to test LiPo batteries. You can do all sorts of things with it, and all in one design. So I'm pretty excited for that to come in. And then I realized another thing. So the bulbs I used were H7 because they were compact, they were inexpensive. So I thought they were perfect. However, you can get the same bulb in 24-volt configuration, which means you can also populate the exact same boards because they're the same footprint with 24-volt bulbs. That means you can go up over 100 volts on a single board. You can do 50 volts, 200 or whatever, 110 watts. Or you can do a single board, 24 volts, 220 watts, all in, one design. So that's pretty cool. Another PCB that I'm quite excited to have in my grubby little hands is one actually made by the previous podcast guest, Unibyte. He has if you didn't listen to the previous podcast, and, that's fine if you didn't, but he made a op-amp experimentation board. So it's basically a PCB with an op-amp in the middle. I think it's a dual op-amp, it might be a dual op-amp. And there's a whole bunch of slots for you to put sort of resistors, capacitors, all sorts of things like that. And it allows you to test and probe op-amp circuits. Op-amps are one of those devices that I have read about multiple times. I have watched Dave Jones's excellent explanation of how op-amps work, but I just cannot grasp what they are doing. So, or how they do their things, or how you set them up, and et cetera, et cetera. On a breadboard, it gets a little awkward as well because the components sort of go over each other. It's not laid out particularly clearly. It doesn't look like the schematic. But Unibyte's board does look like the schematic, and you can put the parts directly in and see what effect they have. So I've done a couple things. I have ordered the boards from PCBWay. Again, not particularly expensive. Those are within the $5 limit for boards. And I've ordered a whole bunch of different kinds of op amps, and I have received them already. And I'm going to put them together, and we're going to make a video experimenting on op amps. That's probably something I'm going to record live as well. I'm pretty excited to do this. I'm pretty excited to have a platform to just mess around with op amps and see what comes out of it. Eventually, I would love to progress and go, all the way to building my own guitar effects pedal, like a distortion pedal. But for now, I'll be really happy if, these boards can solidify what I think I know or what I should know about op amps, because again, it's been very elusive to me. So if you're excited about that, and especially if you know a lot about op amps and their operation, I do say you should join me on my live stream channel, because I am going to be kind of leaning on the audience a little bit to help out, as much as you guys can. And if not, well, I'm just going to learn it the hard way. It's just that simple. Just a quick interruption to talk about this episode's sponsor, PCBWay. PCBWay has been a long-term sponsor of the channel, and I think they're a good match for my channel because they provide quality PCBs for a reasonable price. You can get boards manufactured up to 100 mils by 100 mils for just $5, including shipping to Canada, $15 US, including shipping to USA, $12 US, which is incredibly cheap for professionally manufactured PCBs. I can personally attest to the quality of these PCBs, and so if you want a circuit immortalized forever, check out PCBWay.com with the link in the description. Now back to the conversation. So currently on the live streaming channel, I am going to talk about the live streaming channel a lot because I basically do about 95% of my work on YouTube, at least the recording side on the live stream channel. So it would be really nice if you guys came and check it out, but no worries if live isn't your jam. That's not for everyone. I finally bucked up and I bought a Voron V0 kit. So I finally made the decision. The plan was that my custom 3D printer that I've been working on, so I haven't worked on it for over a year now, but I do have a lot of it assembled. I decided that I don't really want a custom 3D printer unless I can print ABS and maybe, in the future, a little bit more exotic materials. There's nothing really stopping me from printing ABS or exotic materials, but you do need to enclose the build volume of the 3D printer. And I wasn't really thinking about that at the conception of the design. But now I think that's the way forward. I don't want another PLA printing machine. I mean, I do, but I don't want it to only be able to do PLA. So here is my thought. My thought is that I really would like a Voron 2.4. That's the big one, the 350 by 350 by 350 millimeter Voron. However, it is price prohibitive. It's almost 1,600 Canadian dollars, and that's a lot of money for, another printer. I've got a couple printers here already. So here's what I decided. The 2.4, every single part of the Voron 2.4, at least all the functional parts, can be printed on a very small build volume like the Voron V0 has. So my thought is if I get the Voron V0, I can print out parts for my custom build, which will turn into a PLA and ABS machine basically. So I'll be able to retool my custom build, print parts on it on the V0 out of ABS, which is necessary when you have an enclosed build volume. You can't just enclose, PLA parts in, a 60 or 70 degrees Celsius chamber. You're going to start melting or deforming that PLA. So the plan is to get the V0, work on my custom build because I just cannot afford a 2.4 kit at the moment. It's a lot of money. And then I can print out parts for a 2.4 if I want to as well on the V0. So that was the idea. So I went with the Cyboor kit, Siboor. That kit has been reviewed by a few people, and I believe it was Greg's Maker Corner I had on the podcast who did the Cyboor kit. A few people did it, and they liked it. And I've been building it on the live stream. In fact, I started this morning. I'm recording this on Wednesday, the 13th. So there's 254 pages, I think, of instructions, and we made it through about 56-ish. So 56 pages in 4 hours. It's going to be a roughly 20-hour build, maybe a little bit longer. But I did come into my very first snag. So just at the moment, I have the Z-axis put together and the frame is starting to take shape. But I need to complain again about open source and documentation. This is something, and I want you to take this the right way. I am complaining about this also as a reminder to myself, because I am releasing projects as well, and I also need to work on my documentation game. So this is what happened. Cyboor did not design the Voron V0. They only sourced the parts and put it together. In their effort to differentiate themselves from other sellers, they included a few community mods. So one of those community mods is a Kirigami bed, which is basically replacing the structure of the bed. It used to be extrusions, and the Kirigami is just a steel sheet that has been bent in order to be a little bit more rigid. And overall, it's such a common community mod that most of the kits, the V0 kits, come with the Kirigami bed mod. My problem, though, is that when you follow the official Voron documentation, once they get to the bed, which is where I was at today, they say, oh, if you have the Kirigami bed, just skip all of these steps, and rejoin at page 46. And then you have to go and find the instructions for the Kirigami bed. So the Kirigami being a user mod, like a community mod, it's just some dude's GitHub. So it's well linked. It's linked there. You go and look at it, and there's a BOM, so a bill of material, but there are no instructions on how to install it. So I'm like, what screws do I use? Where do I put where? What parts do I need? The 3D printed parts that came with the Cyboor kit. Which ones do I use? Which ones are for the Kirigami? At the very bottom of this gentleman's GitHub, there is a video of someone assembling one. So because it's a community mod, most people who installed it at first were people with existing V0s that they tore apart and installed it. And so he was putting heat set inserts into some parts in the video. And I was like, okay, I need those parts. I went looking in the pile of parts I have here. My parts don't look like his parts. There was a couple of parts that looked the same, but others didn't. So the only instructions are a video, which is not great because he's putting it into a fully assembled machine. That's not what I'm supposed to do. There's some parts I have to do, but not all of them. And then he is using like an old revision of the 3D printed parts for the Kirigami bed. So I'm trying to look for parts that might fit. And I mean, in a kit where you have like 300 printed parts, it is very complicated to figure out. So I had issues figuring that out. And then once I finished figuring it out, it seems like my Kirigami bed was manufactured a little bit off. Okay, so not quite as precise as it should have been. And when I bolted it down tight, it made my Z-axis bind. So I did all the tramming in the world. I did all the squaring. I did everything I could. The Z-axis is binding. Now, it's not binding a lot. I got it to a point where, mild pressure on it will make it slide down. And if I take the heated bed and the heater and the the build surface and all that stuff and just use that weight and put it on top of the bed, it slides down easily. But it makes it bind. So I'm not particularly happy with the Cybor kit as of yet, as well as Cybor. They were a little confusing in their marketing as to which hot end I was going to get. So I ended up with a TZT V6. So it's basically a V6 clone, but it has a large square aluminum block with a flat ceramic heater. Whereas some of the places in the ad said it was coming with a CHC V6, which is, a cylindrical heater block with the ceramic heater all around it. So, there's things I didn't really like, but again, I bought a discount kit. It was $700, $707 Canadian for this kit. And if I would have bought an LDO, like a premium kit, it would have been about 1,400 Canadian dollars. So it's like half the price getting it from Cybor. So I will have to deal with some things, but man, it's the documentation that gets me every single time. And like some people I know are currently in school for, computer programming. They have to do work on databases and they're running into the exact same problem. Documentation. It sucks. Nobody wants to do it, especially if you're not getting paid for it. Nobody wants to do it. And so that really made me look inside of myself. I really need to increase my documentation. I need to be more clear on what code does what. I need to be more clear of what parts look like. And the more frustrating thing is that it's kind of too late for me to make a video because I already heat set the inserts and I already installed the parts on the Kirigami bed. So maybe I'll have to do some sort of handheld thing and make a video to explain to people this is what you need. But in fact, I'm not even through the build. So now that I think about it, I don't even know if I should attach more things to the bed or fewer things to the bed. It's a little confusing. There's no real documentation for the Kirigami bed aside from the stuff that other people have done, which you have to Google search. So yeah, not 100% happy about that. The experience is not going super smooth, but aside from that, building this Voron is like putting together Lego. So that part is fun. Like the fact that the Voron team did such an excellent job of designing a 3D printer. I'm pretty impressed on the way the build is going. How they decided to stack the Z-axis and the shapes of the parts that they've decided to design is very impressive. I could never make parts that complicated and work that well. So I'm really happy about that aspect. I just wish things like when community mods are involved, I would love to step up and make the documentation to help other people do the community stuff a lot easier. But, easier said than done, I guess. I'm just venting a little bit at this point. In other news, spring has sprung around here. We are getting a week of a little bit worse weather, but pretty much winter is over. And so once again, I have not finished the new version of the Snowspeeder in time for there to be snow. So expect to see the Snowspeeder back because I do love that thing, but it's going to be some sort of land or water-based device. I do have a suspension already designed for a different project and custom wheels and tires designed. And so it might be a land-based thing or it could be a water-based thing. Now that I have the Elegoo Neptune 4 Max, the big one, I can print, large size pontoons or stuff like that. And we'll see how fast this thing can get going because now we have probably about triple the power of swinging a 10-inch prop, has unibody construction. This thing is absolutely nuts. I can't wait to share it with you guys. The frame is so big, it almost maxes out the Neptune 4 Max build volume in height and in width, but it is not ready to go yet. I'm hoping to get it done soon. We'll see about that. There wasn't too much excitement last time I mentioned it. There are a few of you that are really excited to see it, which is really, something that I love to see. But for the moment, there's some little bit more low-hanging fruit videos to do, videos I can do in the comfort of my own basement, and stuff that I don't need to spend, hundreds of hours of design work and hundreds of hours of print work to put together. But rest assured, that is a passion project, so it will be done at some point, hopefully sooner rather than later. All right, so now on to the personal front. So those of you who care only about electronics, please tune in next week. I'm going to have one of my two great guests that I have lined up. So, if you like electronics only, I'll see you there, and hopefully I'll see you on the live streams on the live streaming channel, link in the description. All right. So typically at the college where I work, a colleague and I have designed a program from the ground up, basically introducing newbies into auto mechanics. Basically, we take people from all ages. They have to have graduated high school, though. And even if they don't know what a screwdriver and a hammer is, we take them in, and over the course of a couple months, they know the names of tools, how to use those tools, the names of car parts, how to do basic car repair and maintenance and diagnostic work, how to use diagnostic equipment. Basically, all of the basics needed to go from zero to being at the top of the employment list when it comes to looking for a job. Basically, you have all the credentials needed to get started in the automotive trade. And on top of that, you even here in Ontario, we have a 3-semester system in order to go from through your apprenticeship to your licensing to become a full licensed automotive technician. My students also they do a level 1, so they finish their first semester before they go into the workplace, getting about a year and a half leg up on their colleagues. Now, that program this summer has been canceled. I don't know how much I can say because some of that might be privileged information, but I mean, it'll become pretty obvious pretty quickly, why it was canceled. At least to those of you who follow stuff in Ontario. Again, being vague, but that does mean that I am not going to have one of my largest sources of income for this year. So, needless to say, I am more than a little bummed out about that. And I found out just after spending $700 on that Voron. So, watch the video, please. I need the views. But in all seriousness, that does a couple things for me. So at the very first thing is all the stuff that I've always wanted to do, I am going to have to put more emphasis on it. I'm going to have to do more articles on my website, more videos to try to compensate at least a little bit. But the other thing is I am not going to increase my hours as a professional mechanic working for the small owner. Although he treats me very well, my body can't really take the abuse because although he treats me better than working at the dealership and he pays me better than what I was making at the dealership, the truth of the matter is that it is harder work. We're mobile. We don't work with a hoist. So we're working in awkward positions, crawling underneath cars, doing all sorts of stuff like that. And a lot of it ends up being on pickup trucks and really heavy commercial vehicles. So it's really hard on my body. So my plan is to dig down and do a lot more of what I was doing anyways. Basically try to expand my electronics knowledge, trying to make more tutorials, because I do think barriers to entry are still a really important thing that stops people from accomplishing whatever they want to accomplish in electronics. I also want to just do more fun stuff, do more project videos. I should have more time. And so I should use that time aptly in order to, make the best, make lemonade out of, life's lemons, so to speak. I still plan on attending the Open Hardware Summit this summer in Montreal. The entry cost is will be a little bit more dire, but I still maintain that if I'm visiting there as a business expense, even though I technically qualify for the low income ticket, I don't think it's right. So I'll still buy the full pop ticket. Plus it goes to a good cause. I'm not too worried about that. And I'm just going to try to do more with the time I have. The other thing that's very important to me is I really want to get my automotive channel, Dan Fixes Cars, off the ground. It is, I need to eventually, in case my, how long has it been now? It's 2024 and I started in 2006. So whatever the math is on that, let's see, 2006, 2024. That's 18 years. So I want to really put my 18 years of automotive knowledge into video form, written form, something, leave a legacy for the stuff that I have been working on for a very long time. I am not super talented in the electronics field. I am just learning along with most of you. Or some of you. I guess some of you are like old school and know a lot of stuff, but some of you are very much beginners on this channel. And so that's not the same for automotive. Automotive sector, I know very well. There's no way to know everything in the automotive world. Things change all the time, but I know a lot, and a lot more than I do in electronics. And I want to formalize that knowledge, write something. Maybe I will continue what I thought, I started working a little bit on basics electronics book for using a different approach than the scholarly approach. These are things that I will be putting more thought into. I can't guarantee that I'm going to do any of these things because who knows what the future holds. Maybe I'll have to take another job. I don't know. What I'm definitely not asking you to do is to go to my Patreon. Those of you who wanted to donate have already gone to my Patreon. So I really don't want you to feel bad for me. I'm in a much better place financially than I was a couple of years ago. So a couple of years ago, losing a big chunk of income like this would have devastated me to the point where I would have to pick up another job. But right now, not picking up a third job, to replace that third job, I guess, is not going to stop food from coming onto the table. It just reduces the comfort. I'll be a little bit less comfortable than I was before. Not that I was particularly comfortable, but you know what I mean. It's not your $1 to $5 a month that's going to make the world of difference. My Patreons, although I really do appreciate their support, and I thank you guys a lot, their support is more important to me in the fact that for basically no gains, they were willing to put a little bit in the pot. That meant a lot more than the money. And if you want to support me at the moment, what I would love is to know what you like on my channel. The positive comments have always been one of the best parts of YouTube. And so, if you're wondering how to how to support me right now. Watch my videos, share my videos. Aside from that, comment. Tell me what you like about my videos. I get people all the time looking at my how to use transistors video, and every once in a while they leave such nice comments that they learn some stuff. The multimeter video is doing phenomenal as well. So I'm happy with the way things are going, especially with companies like PCBWay and Unity, and there was Keysight before. Just taking chances on this little pokey Canadian electronics tuber, and so don't be don't be sad for me. I'll be fine, but I do like to share the ups and the downs on this podcast, and this was a little bit of a low point for me, especially since I built that program with a colleague. So that's that. On the positive news, I did get one last contract before the summer. So I'll be doing 6 hours a week for the next couple weeks. I don't know how long it's going to be, but they're as the shop technician, not as a professor. So it's at a far lower rate of pay, but I just love being at the college. I love existing in that space. It's a space where I feel like I can thrive. So I'm going to, cherish every last moment of it until the contract is over. And then we never know what the future brings. There could be contract negotiations, or funding negotiations next year, or they can launch a new program or whatever. I don't know. I'm not super concerned about it. Whatever happens, we'll make it happen. We'll make it work. And either way, I'll just keep plugging away at YouTube until until I run out of money. That's going to be the deal. So yeah, that's a bit of the downside on the personal side. On the other hand, I really do need a kick in the butt to do more work. I know I work quite a bit as compared to a lot of people, but I feel like I need to work more, get more stuff online, get more videos done. And so that's basically what the live stream channel has been helping. The other day I spent a good couple hours trying to get an NRF24 LO1 working again. So even all these years later, I still can't get it to work. So that's just my luck. Anyways, it's getting very late. I know a lot of you don't like these shorter episodes, but look, man, I am sitting at my desk, staring at the waveform go by, and I can't really remember all the stuff I did for the last week or so. So, why don't you just come down to the live stream, and you're going to be able to see, chat in real time and see what I'm up to. Right now, for the next little while, it's going to be doing the first look videos of the Unity equipment, and as well as assembling my Voron V0. And, hilarity ensues. I mess up. We have to go back, do some other stuff. You get to chat with a lot of people. Couple of regulars come back in onto the chat. They're there almost every day. So yeah, if you just want to hang out, come to the live stream, and hopefully I'll see you there, and I'll see you next week in the podcast. Thanks for listening, everyone. Have a good one.